Oh man, I'm excited about today's episode. I appreciate you all joining us on Life Fulfilled. Today via Zoom, we have Payton Henry. He was drafted into the MLB at 18 years old, I believe, right after graduating high school. Skipped that whole college thing. And he's been there since. So I'm excited to hear what he has to say about working hard, not letting people bring you down. There's going to be a lot of valuable information from this guy. So let's get rolling. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us on Life Fulfilled. I've got Mr. Payton Henry here. Good friend of mine. I've known him for over a decade at this point, right? Known him since early years of high school. Been a long time. Been following his career. He's done amazing things. And just like with Life Fulfilled, the biggest goal here is to help people push through adversity, do what they love, do what they're good at. Because if you do what you're good at, you're probably going to start to love it. And the big driving point for me to ask Payton to be on here is just the example of business acquaintances and, experiences in life where just like him, I want to go pro. And a lot of the time you're going to hear, hey, be realistic. You know, what percent of people actually go on to play at that level? And I firmly believe that if my daughter were to say that to me, and rather than telling her to be realistic and pushing her down, and I said, you know what, then do it. And don't let anybody say that you cannot do it. Even if she doesn't make it, she could turn that drive into multi-million, billion-dollar business, a successful nonprofit, whatever it may be. They can find so much fulfillment in life, and it doesn't matter what they turn it into. But it's the reason I want Payton on here. And Payton, I'd just like for you to introduce yourself and chat a little bit about your story. Start wherever you'd like to, because this has been a lifetime fight for you to get to where you are. And I'll just let you have the floor and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Well, yeah, Kev, thanks for having me on. I'm really happy. I'm really excited to get to do this because, like we've talked about previously, there's a whole lot of things that people don't see, and a whole lot of things that people don't understand. And I'm glad you're bringing this to light. So I'm Payton Henry from Pleasant Grove, Utah. Honestly, my story starts about when I was 6 years old, getting into competitive baseball and competitive sports. So. It's been crazy. 6 years old, just fell in love with the game, fell in love with being around teammates and being around people who wanted to make me better. And, that kind of sprouted into me wanting to be a part of anything and everything that had the sports title to it. After that. So, my dad was a great athlete. My grandpa was, in the Hall of Fame for wrestling and refereeing and coaching. And so I kind of fell into that sports category real fast. But I think some of the key points here for my timeline and for my story are, one, my dad probably gave me all the confidence in the world. So let's start with that, and that'll kind of go into what I'm going into next. But I played 2 years up, 2 age groups up, from the time that I was 6 years old until the time that I was 14 years old. So it was kind of his way of saying, like, hey, we're going to throw you in there. We're going to throw you in the fire. Let's see what you can do. Go have fun. Some of his former friends and former teammates from high school and people that he knew, their sons were a little bit older than I was. So that just kind of happened to fall that way. They kind of gave me a shot. I was the youngest kid. I was the smallest kid. It just kind of happened the way it happened. I don't know how else to really put it. I don't know what that conversation was or why I was even a part of those teams or why I even got on those teams, but that's kind of how it started. So from that age, it was always, I was behind the curve, right? So I had to figure out how to be, with the curve or above the curve or things like that. But Yeah. So it was always something that I feel like it kept me motivated and kept me pushing forward and kept me trying to be better than honestly what I even thought I could be. So did that all through my my early teens, and once I got to high school, my dad was coaching for Pleasant Grove and still is a coach for Pleasant Grove High School. So I was fortunate enough to play for him. But I think my main goal going into high school was that I wanted to start varsity as a freshman. That was a big thing. And then I got a couple games at varsity as a freshman, and then after that, had a pretty decent career there and was able to get drafted. So that's kind of the timeline that happened. And then there's been some crazier stuff happening now after high school, but yeah, it's been a long time coming. It's been since I was 6 years old, and maybe even before that. I mean, I was swinging a bat, when I could walk. That was just what I did.
I'm sure.
So I don't know. I don't know if it was my choice or if it was somebody else's choice, but it turned into my choice at the end. So I guess that's all that matters, right? But
yeah,
no, it was good. So yeah, that's kind of my timeline, kind of my story of how I came up. I was involved in a lot of things and just kind of kept going, honestly. But yeah, like I said, main points out of that is Pleasant Grove High School. That's Pleasant Grove, Utah is my favorite place in the whole entire world. It always will be. I will probably always live there. I think there's a lot of positive people around there, a lot of people that helped me get here. So that's one thing I always like to go back to, when I'm talking to people or getting on podcasts or things like that, is that Pleasant Grove, Utah is the best place on earth. So we'll just set that straight right now.
I agree. Love that place. Okay. So from your intro, I'd like to kind of talk on the high school piece, because, with my wife's involvement with high school dance up here in Salt Lake, my involvement with the athletes down at PG with soccer, I don't even know how to put it. It's a rough time, I guess we could say, and it keeps getting rougher and rougher. So
absolutely.
What was high school like for you? I have an idea of who you were, and we would talk every now and then, but I just kind of want to hear what it was like for you and what type of person you were in high school. I could probably assume right now and be correct that, you were a person that people commonly looked up to, and also one that the most impressive piece was that you're willing to look up or stand up for people, especially people who couldn't stand up for themselves. You were you were a very kind person, and that stands out to a lot of people. And I think a lot of kids, teens, parents, whoever it may be, need to hear that, whether it's this being a real man conversation or just a strong person, the strongest people stand up to the pack, especially those people who can't stand up for themselves. So kind of explain who you were in high school and maybe some challenges that you came across in high school, if any.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think coming into high school and even my freshman year, there was a little bit of hype around me that I was a good baseball player and that I was a good athlete and all these things. So I kind of felt like I had a target on my back and kind of had an expectation that I was supposed to be somebody, and I was supposed to be this crazy, awesome athlete and do crazy, awesome things and everything like that. And, honestly, I wasn't too worried about that. That was, I knew if I worked hard, that was kind of going to come, and that was going to set in place, and whatever happened with that was kind of what I wanted it to be. So, my main focus going into high school, and I think the main focus of, the way that my parents raised me, was that I'm respectful to everybody, I'm kind to everybody, and I will help anybody in anything that I can. That's kind of how that's how I was raised. I was taught that by, my mom, my dad, my grandma, my grandpa. I was fortunate enough to live 2 hours down from my grandma and grandpa, and they were a huge influence in my life. And that was what we got. That was what we were meant to be. That was what we were meant to do. So, yeah, I mean, I was a high school kid. I still did dumb things. I still said dumb things. I probably offended some people, and I probably wasn't a friend to everybody that I could have been a friend to. But you know what? I think after my sophomore year, I really tried. I really tried hard to be a stand-up person and to stand up for the things that I believed in, and just overall, just to be nice and try to make somebody's day a little bit better. That came from an organization that I was a part of. We talked about this a little bit before we got on here, but especially for athletes, that program's run by Dustin Smith, and what he does is goes around to all of the schools in Utah, and I think he's actually expanded nationwide as well. But he's kind of gone to these schools and gathered these athletes and said, "Hey, listen, you guys, we need to be better. We need to not be the bullies. We need to not be the people that are putting people down. We need to lift people up." And that was the perfect wake up call for me heading into my sophomore year. I don't think that I was a bad person before that, but I definitely did not do the things that I did, after having those conversations with him and being a part of that group. So that was that was kind of the main thing that really shifted my high school experiences was, what, let's look out for people. Let's be a friend and just be nice, whether it's a teacher or a student or, anybody out there, just be nice. That was kind of my, my motto and way of putting it.
Yeah, for sure. It's simple. It's important, really important.
Yeah.
And, it's with nice people who are going to stand up for really anybody. The second those gloves have to come off, it's usually
absolutely. Yeah.
Things have to be done.
No, I totally agree. I think you can definitely be nice up to so long, but there's time and place to stick up for yourself, and there's time and place to stick up for other people as well. And I definitely wanted that to be known too, is I didn't really care who you were, because I didn't expect you to care who I was. I just didn't, I didn't want people getting hurt for no reason. I didn't want people being mean for no reason. And that's just probably because I didn't want to be mean for no reason. And I didn't want to hurt anyone in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. And you come from such a special family. Nicest dad. I've probably come across your mom a number of times, and I was probably like, holy cow, she's one of the nicest people ever. And then obviously I knew who your grandfather was and just the great person he was. And he was an example to so many people within the community. So I'm so glad that you and your siblings have taken that example that he gave and continue to spread that legacy of kindness, hard work. Man, there's just so much that went into that man. So
absolutely.
Now, getting into the piece of going pro, I guess, at what age did it start to hit that you were going to do it? When you said, I'm going to do this and continue.
In ninth grade, I made what's called the National Team Identification Series for Team USA, and Team USA runs they have each age division, and you can go on and make their team and and just play for Team USA, right? So I got accepted into that, and I think that's kind of when everything turned to, hey, I want to play baseball. Like, I know I'm good at this. This is what I enjoy most. Before that, I was playing so much baseball. Like, I played other sports. I played football. I wrestled. Those are the main two. I did summer swim team. I did things like I just did a little bit of everything. But I think I was playing probably over 100 baseball games a year by the time I was 12. Wow. So I really got into it and really just learned to love it. Thank goodness my parents were supportive of that. And I don't even know, I don't want to know how much money they forked out to give me to the places that I was going and stuff like that. I'll always be in debt to them. But that's kind of when I really started understanding, like, hey, you know what, you can do something. You can do something people around here haven't done in a while, and you can be somebody. You can be what you want to be. So after that point, I remember my dad coming to me, and we'd go and hit in the cage all the time. Sometimes it'd be twice a day. Sometimes it'd be for 4 hours at a time. And, it was just work, because he knew that's what I wanted to do. And that's what I wanted to do. And he was right there alongside of me, helping me out, but pulled me aside in the cage one day and was like, listen, up to this point, we've had a plan for you to get your college paid for and to play for a university, right? That's been our goal. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. We've talked about that. And he was like, you know what? That's still our goal. That's still what we're going to do. We're going to keep pushing forward, but there's no limit for you. Your limit is what you make it.
For sure.
You know, he was the one who gave me the confidence and told me like, hey, you can be where you want to be. It's just going to take some work, and it's going to take some believing in yourself. That's all it was. And I ate it up, and I ran with it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to try my best to do it. If I end up getting drafted, great. If I don't, great. I have this plan. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get my degree in whatever, you know, excites me in school, and, you know, I'll be able to play baseball. So I kind of get the best of both worlds. So when I came to be a sophomore, I had a pretty good sophomore season, and there's some people that were excited, some scouts that were excited, college scouts, and kind of a little bit in the professional scout scene and things like that. So, yeah, that's really where like I started getting the attention and being like, okay, like this is for real. Like,
yeah,
you know, this is really happening. I don't, you know, I can say I don't know why, but I do know why, because that's what I want to do. That's what I worked for. That's like, you know, I kind of worked for those opportunities. And yeah, so my sophomore year, I ended up committing to UNLV to play baseball, and some things happened. Ended up decommitting and kind of opened back up, and had a really good junior year. My junior year in high school was probably my best year overall, no doubt. Played really well on every side of the ball, and that's what kind of shot me up. And after that season, going into my senior season, I ended up committing to BYU to play baseball, and got a full ride there and some things. And during that time, there was more professional scouts there, more people kind of wanted to see me play and wanted to see what I had. And it's kind of foreign for a Utah in a sense to have all these scouts there and have people.
Sorry, my dog
interested in
stuff. I really am sorry.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good.
Keep going.
But oh man, that's awesome. I love that. But yeah, that's kind of when it started getting real, and it hadn't happened in a while. I think it'd been 6, 7, maybe 8 years since somebody had been drafted out of Utah. So
yeah,
yeah, it was crazy. I mean, my senior year was unlike anything that I could have ever expected. I wasn't even really a kid. It was like I was showing up for a job interview every day.
Oh yeah.
And like,
that's
okay,
insane.
You know, this team's calling me. Like, you know, I was just trying to keep my head on straight and do the right things. But yeah, so that all happened, and now it's kickstarted, and I ended up getting drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers in the 6th round of the 2016 draft, right after I graduated. And yeah, I think, not even 7 days after I was drafted, I was in Arizona playing semi-professional baseball, and moved in with some, you know, 23-year-olds that were some senior signs out of college. So just this 18-year-old kid, like trying to figure myself out. And,
hey guys.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm a kid. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, it ended up being really good. And most of those guys that I lived with that first year are still some of my really good friends. But yeah, now it's just kind of sprung into this career, and it definitely hasn't been glamorous. It definitely hasn't been fun a lot of the time. But the main thing was that I had people behind me, and they helped me, you know, ultimately get to the big leagues, you know, when I was down and things like that. So, crazy, but not crazy. It was kind of something that I wanted, something that I envisioned, and something that I just I threw everything at. I was like, you know what, if I'm going to go for it, I'm going to go for it. If it doesn't work out, that's fine by me. But if it does, then man, it's going to be fun. It's going to be crazy. And it's going to be, you know, something that I can look back on and say, you know what, I don't know how in the hell I got through all this, but I did, you know, and I kept going somehow. But yeah,
for sure, man. And hey, I guess I am right. You just keep pushing and pushing. If you didn't make it, you're like, I'm set.
Yeah.
I've got this drive. Whatever I do next, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to freaking crush it. And if not, I'm going to do the same thing for the next. Well, change some things up, but just that drive.
Exactly.
Oh man, it's so important. Obviously, there's things to learn along the way and everything, but from that, let's kind of talk adversity piece. Everyone deals with
A
it.
lot of it.
I know you've dealt with it. I know you've dealt a lot of it. So dealt with a lot of it, not dealt a lot of it. Let's kind of talk on that piece. Like, have there been people along the way, and I'm not expecting names, but let's hear examples of, people could tear your career apart just by saying something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that kind of started in high school. You came in as the coach's kid, and, people were making comments about that. Teammates were making comments about that. Things were going on there that was already a tough piece coming into it. Is, like I said, I kind of came in with a target on my back. I had this name, and people knew that I, was a pretty decent athlete, but they didn't really know what was going to happen with me. So, that was really tough on, not just me, my family, and things like that. I mean, my dad being the head coach, there, he didn't even want to throw me in there, because he's like, listen, I don't like, you got time to play. You got, like, as a freshman, he's like, you got time to play. You got 3 more years to where you can,
for sure,
you can earn a job and do your stuff. And I think that I kind of just kept forcing his hand. I was like, I'm just going to keep playing. Like, it was even like at that point where I knew he believed in me, but at the same time, he separated the relationship from dad and son to player and coach, and was like, if you're going to do this, you're going to earn it. So that was kind of the start of it. Was, I don't think a lot of people wanted me to succeed. Not a lot of people wanted me to be in that position and to be the guy that was doing that. So kind of started from there, and I dealt with that all through high school. And luckily there wasn't a lot of adversity in the playing field. I was pretty fortunate and blessed to to play well and to have things go my way a lot of the time. But, even my senior year, it was like, this kid's not going to get drafted. This kid from Utah, like, whatever. Yeah, he's good, but he's playing Utah baseball. Like, it's not like all these big states and big names. Like, he's just another kid. Like, he'll probably just go to college and fizzle out, or he'll probably go, be doing something else by this point.
Yeah.
That was kind of hard, but if there's one thing, it was just my mom and my dad just kept with me. They just stuck with me through all the crap and all the stuff I was dealing with. All the stuff they were having to deal with, they just kept with me and just kept going strong. And I think that was kind of the thing that got me through that. But yeah, that's definitely when it started. And then you go from being 18 on the top of the world, and you're, in your hometown of Pleasant Grove, and getting drafted, and, having fun, and, being with your friends, and, everything's great, to then you get to pro ball and you're in a different state, and nobody really cares who you are. Nobody cares where you come from. Nobody cares what you did to get there. It's you versus maybe the guy that you're living with, or, the guy that you're playing with. It's like, hey, it's you or me. Who's it going to be? Like, so it's all competition, and all just, like, I mean, it's as cutthroat as it can be, So I learned quick. I got into pro ball, and I sucked. My first year, I sucked. I realized I wasn't where I needed to be at all. Like, my defense, I'm a catcher, so my defense was terrible. My offense was terrible. And I was calling my dad at home all the time, being like, what do I got to do? Like, what am I, like, I don't understand this. Why am I playing so bad? Like, I don't get it. Like, I thought I was ready for this. And, he came down. I was in Arizona at the time. He came down multiple times, trying to help me, and trying to help my swing, trying to help my defense, all sorts of stuff. So that's where it really started, where, like, adversity really, really, really kicked in for me in the playing field. It was like, I think I was hitting like 100, and in baseball, 100 is awful. Like, it's probably hitting 100.
What that means for the non-baseball people.
Yeah. So you have an average. So, for instance, like, people that hit 300 average, it's, they get a hit 3 out of every 10 times. Well, in baseball, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And anything below that, 200 and 100, you definitely don't want to be there because you're not going to be playing for too long if you're in those numbers. So yeah, it's 300's kind of been an average thing for all baseball players forever. That's just all of the Hall of Famers that are really good. They usually hit home runs, and they usually hit for a 300 average or close to, above, or a little bit below, or whatever it is. But that's kind of standard. So obviously I was hitting way less than that. It means I was getting a hit like once out of every 10 times, which is just terrible. So I was struggling there, and finally figured it out, and kind of got in a little bit of a groove, and ended up the season pretty decent, and get into my next season. And man, that was the first season that I had like kind of caught a lot of games and been a lot of places. I ended up playing in Montana. I was in Arizona, Montana, kind of going everywhere and doing the 10-hour bus rides. And I think we had a 17-hour bus ride that year too. Like, just some crazy stuff. And I struggled there too. Had a little bit of success at times, and really struggled at times. And like those 2 years, I was like, man, I'm done. Like, I'm like, this isn't what I expected it to be. I'm sucking. I don't know what to do about it. I don't know what adjustment to make. I don't know where to go from here. Like, I was just like, how am I even going to be back to the player that I was? Like, how am I going to get back to that?
Yeah.
And at the time, I still didn't even know that. Like, I was kind of going through it mentally, and just grinding through everything that I could. But my dad just kept feeding me positivity and confidence, whether it was calling me and telling me, like, I would be home, he's calling me and talking to me about my swing. He's like, hey, here's your swing. This is why it works. Like this, you need to believe in this, or this is your defense. This is why it works. And this is why we believe in it. And, you have those conversations with coaches or your dad or anybody all the time. And it's just kind of like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, it is what it is. You don't really think of it. And I really do think that those calls from him and those calls from my mom as well were kind of my saving grace that kept me going forward. And then I really started seeing some success a couple years after. I ended up winning the minor league Gold Glove the year after that for being a catcher. And that was really cool, and had a little bit more success hitting, still a lot of failures hitting and trying to figure some things out. But that was kind of the icing on the cake, was being like, okay, well, you were the best defensive catcher in the minor leagues that year. Like, that's something to be proud of. That's something to go for, or go from, and the spot to start, kind of. So I kept doing that. And the next year I won a couple more defensive awards, and kind of got in the groove a little bit more hitting. And, same things though. Everybody thought that I was doing great back home and thought that I was tearing it up. And I really wasn't. Like, I was doing okay. Like, I was playing okay, but honestly, mentally, I was probably in the worst spot I've ever been in my life. Like, never have I ever dealt with anything like that. I was calling home. I remember calling home to my parents a couple of times, like crying, being like, this sucks. Like, I hate this. I hate everything about it. I don't want to be here. I don't want to deal with this anymore. And I think it was just that I wasn't accustomed to failing that often. I wasn't accustomed to not being able to do what I wanted to do, just because players are good. They're in professional sports for a reason, like,
oh, here we go, the pros.
Like I said, I got out of Pleasant Grove and got out of Utah, where that's where, that's where I was the best. I was the best there. Yeah. And then I go from being the best to like almost being the absolute worst. And for like a couple of years, and then figured it out a little bit, and just this endless mental battle between myself. And it's still going on today. I mean, there's days where I wake up and everything's great, and I'm optimistic. And there's days I wake up and it's like, man, like, what am I doing here? Like, why am I still doing this? Like, those kind of things. So, but yeah, a couple years after that, went through COVID, and COVID kind of killed one of the seasons, and last year ended up having a breakout season and made it to the big leagues with the Marlins. And this year started out in the big leagues with the Marlins and had an injury and got hurt. Now I'm back down to AAA. And, it's a never ending cycle of like being humbled and learning how to get through it.
Oh yeah.
And so it's a really long version of explaining it, but man, it's been, since I got out of high school, it has been nothing but adversity every single step of the way. Whether it was, whether I had a good day, like a good day in pro ball is you doing everything right. Every single thing right. Like
Yeah.
that's the standard for a good day in pro ball, right? So something's always wrong, right? You're always getting talked to about something. You're always getting criticized for something that you did or whatever it is, right? You could think you had the best day of your life and it could turn out to be a bad one, determining on what somebody thought. And I think that's another point too, is I let that get to me rather than being like, no, like I played great,
Sure.
I don't, to my standards, I played great.
Yeah.
I gotta give myself a little credit here, but yeah, it's every day, like every single day, there's a part of me that wants to be home. Every single day, there's a part of me that wants to say like, hey, you know what? Like I've done enough. I've made it to where I ultimately wanted to be. I fulfilled my dream. I fulfilled my childhood dream of making the big leagues, of, being that guy, being drafted, of, winning a bunch of awards and stuff like that. I fulfilled it. So, sometimes I think, why keep going? What am I shooting for? Why am I going longer? Why am I going for more? But I think what you come to understand is, if you have just a tiny, tiny bit of confidence and a tiny, tiny bit of want, like of really want to do something, it's just going to keep pushing you through. No matter what it is, it's going to keep pushing you through. So yeah, that's, like I said, it's adversity every day. I mean, today's been adversity. You wake up, your body doesn't feel good, or, you don't play or something like that. You don't understand why you're not playing, or, like 2 weeks ago, I just had a concussion out of nowhere, got a foul tip to the mask and got a concussion. It's like, okay, more adversity. Now I can't play. Like now I got to, rehab and get myself back through things to be able to play again, to be able to get back out on the field. And then you get back out on the field and you might strike out freaking 4 times. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, there's more. Like, what am I doing, right? But yeah, it's been wild. It really has. It's been adversity every day. But man, I'd be crazy if I would have ever stopped. I'd be crazy if I stopped now.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably hate myself forever if I stopped right now.
Yeah.
Right? Like
you have the one.
I very well could. Yeah, I very well could just say, hey, I'm good. Like I'm done. I made it to where I need to be, but there's still something left for me, so just keep pushing through whatever it is, and just keep going.
And even in like business, people who have the grand idea and they never go for it. And they
Absolutely
kind of stay in what they see as mediocre their whole life. And then the end of their life comes like, man, what if I did that? Like, even if I would have failed, at least I wouldn't have the what if in my head. So it's kind of, I feel like where you're going with it is, at least when the time comes, whether it be tomorrow or 15, 20 years, whatever it is, at least you can know with certainty that like, okay, well, I pushed it as long as I possibly could. And, right.
Absolutely.
There's more for you. So
it's not, I think even in business, sometimes people, corporate America or just anything, right? People get working and they get stuck and they think that that's the only thing for them. Right. Or, it can even go down to the little things of your parents getting stuck in a certain mindset that can honestly harm you or harm their kids in a way that they didn't even know was harming them. And there's something else out there. There's something else to do. There's something else to be. Like, I'm not just Payton Henry, the baseball player. Like I'm Payton Henry, the regular person. I'm Payton Henry, the Pleasant Grove native. I'm Payton Henry, the
son,
family man,
brother,
Payton Henry, the
whatever.
son, the son, brother, whatever it is. Like I'm that guy too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, with business and things like that, it's just, you're exactly right. You got to go for it. I mean, why not? If you really want it, you're going to figure out how to do it. And that goes for anything and anybody, like people that want to be smart. I promise you, they're going to be smart. I promise you. Like I promise you, they're going to figure out something really cool for us. Whether it's anything, any board, any spectrum. There's some kid in some country right now that is going to be the next freaking Michael Jordan, or the next big doctor, or the next Elon Musk. There's going to be somebody out there that's going to do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a matter of when, it's a matter of who.
Yeah. And there's plenty of people capable, but only a few are going to push to that level. And, that's why those guys and gals are there. And that the piece about adversity just being every single day, whether your body hurts, whether you had a bad game. Like I think back to something, I was terrible at baseball. So I did not continue playing through my life, as you know. You think back to just a little kid striking out in Little League. It's freaking devastating. You walk up, some kids are in tears, some are just pissed. Some kids are like, oh, I'm having fun. And that's great. But I remember me, every time I'd strike out, I was just so devastated. And thinking back, I'm like, dude, you were 8.
Yeah.
You have the thought that comes to mind is you have these goals. You and I become freshmen in high school back in the day. And it's like, I want to play varsity freshman year. But the second you make that varsity squad, you can't just go home and be like, made it, kick your feet up. Like, I'm here. You said you were 18 when the draft happened and you went, right? So you're 18 years old. You have this goal. You get drafted by the Brewers. And from there, a lot of people like, he made it, man. Like, he's good. But little do they know, it's time to kick it even into a higher gear now. Like, it's going to get
absolutely
a hell of a lot harder, and the work is not going to end. There will probably not be, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming there are not days when you are working on your game, whether it's physically or mentally. It just never stops. I mean, it's your job.
I think I've thought about baseball every single day since I was 8 years old. And, now it's the same deal. Like, I get into pro ball. I think about baseball every single day, whether I like it or not. It's a thought that goes through my mind. And it's a thought of, what do I got to do to make sure that doesn't happen again? Or what do I got to do to make sure that I get here, or that I can do this or do that? Like, every day, every single day, it's something. Every day. So you're exactly right. Like, it does not end. Like, once you get somewhere, you cannot, like, honestly, I don't understand. I'm just not wired that way. It's like, if I get somewhere, it's like, oh, okay, that's just another thing checked off the list. Like, great, there it is. The box is checked. Let's keep going. What else can I check off? What else can I do? What else can I find? Right. Once there's no more boxes left for me to check off in the game or in what I'm doing, then you go on the next thing and find more boxes to check. Like, it's a weird way of putting it, but it's honestly true. It's like, and it's not somebody else's boxes. It's just like, oh, okay, yeah, I did that. Cool. That's my box. I get to check that one too.
Yeah, you measure your success.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You don't, checking boxes for other people is stupid. That's beside the point. But it's like, I don't know. I don't know how people stop, because it's addicting. It really is. In a way, it's very addicting. And I think people, a lot of people in business, and a lot of people in sports, a lot of people in life can understand that. It's like learning and growing is addicting. It's the truth, or else we would all be stagnant. We'd all be big old blobs and nothing would happen. There would be no cars. There'd be no air conditioning. There'd be no things like that, because somebody just stopped.
Yeah.
But
we made fire. We're good.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's insane, man. Like, and it's really not beside the point when you say checking other people's boxes, because one of the biggest things I think about all the time is the fact that we just compare ourselves to other people so often. And yes, it's good. Your job is a competition. So of course you're probably comparing yourself to people, but
Yeah.
maybe on your bad days you have to catch yourself saying like, okay, I'm comparing myself in an unhealthy way where I should be comparing myself to him as he does this better, so I need to do it better than him. And as I compare myself to this catcher, like I see that he does better. I could go on with that forever, but it really isn't beside the point. You said checking other people's boxes, but that really is a good segue into this conversation of just healthy comparisons, because so often nowadays, especially with the social media age, where you can grow a very successful business through social media, but there's also sitting on the couch as a blob and being like, okay, well, looking at all these, maybe you want to drive a Lamborghini one day or whatever it is. There's always going to be people that have what you want. And it's really unhealthy, I believe, the way we're comparing ourselves to others. Because rather than being
I agree.
all right, I can make a little competition in my head to be better than him or her at this part of business or whatever. I think that's probably huge for you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think, it's been said before, but it needs to keep being said is, everything on Instagram is mostly fake. Everything on Instagram is pretty out there, right? But I think people don't understand what it takes to actually have those things and do those things and be that, right? It is like, if you want to be that, like, you better be doing more than scrolling through Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Like you better be out grinding and getting after it for 10, 12, however many hours a day it is for you to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you honestly better do it, or else it's never going to happen. And now, like, people have jobs running social media. Their job is social media because people like them, right? And that's good for them. Like I'm never going to hate on somebody who uses themselves to make a business and who uses their brand to make a business. Like, I think it's awesome. But I also think that there needs to be more like raw and uncut and being like, hey, this is how it really is. This is what we're really doing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with relationships. You get on Instagram and all you see is everybody kissing and everybody smiling and their families are happy
A perfect life.
and yeah, that's all you see because that's all anyone wants to portray. They don't want to tell anybody what's going on behind closed doors. And obviously some of that stuff is personal and you want to keep that within the people that you want to know and your friends and your close friends and family
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. But it's just not sunshine and rainbows. It's
Oh
not.
yeah. And my wife and I
I've
talk
had
about all the time, man. Like, being in a relationship is hard. Being married is freaking hard. And, having a kid, a lot of people I think are like, okay, we'll have a kid and it'll fix things. It's like, man, they make it way harder. I promise you.
yeah,
Being a father is incredible. I know that, my wife's an incredible mom, and I will credit every bit of success my daughter has to her because just the incredible mom she is. But man, relationships are so challenging. And I really hope that we can do more of showing people the challenges that go into relationships. And when you come into my house, maybe it will actually look like someone lives here. Like, it's not always perfect and smelling great. Like, my kids probably destroyed something in the last 5 minutes, and that's okay.
Yeah, you gotta be cool with it. It's like that to me, that's always been what living is. Like, I grew up, I had 3 other siblings. I know you have siblings. Like, stuff doesn't go right all the time, but and I can't tell you how many times, my mom and dad yelled at us for making the house messy right after you cleaned it, or, hey, we got so and so coming over, like why are you doing what you're doing, like why are you freaking drawing on the walls, or what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just something stupid like that. It's like, or why are you painting the grass, or why are you painting your rims right now, we got people coming over in 5 minutes. And I think it's like, to me, it's always been that. It's like, who cares who comes over? Like, whatever. Like, yeah, you can have a clean house and be cool, but it's like, yeah, let them see it. Why not? They'll probably love it. So, no,
and I'm sorry, I
agree.
cut you off when I started talking. I heard you say, you said and then I started speaking. I apologize. I totally cut you off.
Oh, no.
If you remember the point you were getting to, shoot. And we were talking about, just relationships being tough. And Instagram and stuff, just not being real.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know where I was going with it. I mean, it's the same thing. It's same thing with relationships, same thing with business, same thing with sports, everything, right? So I've had games where I've hit a home run, right? And the home run gets posted all over social media. Everybody sees it. My friends are all excited and people are shouting me out, putting me on their story and posting and all that stuff. But they don't understand that I was just for my last 20 or right. that I freaking struck out 3 times that game or something, like in my debut, I hit a double. In my debut in the big leagues, I hit a double.
I remember it.
And and everybody was freaking out about it. Like, right. It was cool. It was my first hit. Like, I was excited about it too, but I had a horrible game. That was the only thing I did good, pretty much. I mean, I struck out 3 times that game, three Ks, a double. And, I caught okay. Right. We lost the game. So it really wasn't a good game at all. Like, I didn't play like I needed to play, but yet again, like, that's just on repeat. And that's just going through people's minds of like, oh man, like, he had great. He had this great game. And, in his first at bat, he hit a double. Well, that wasn't true either. My first at bat, I freaking struck out. It's like, it's so cut and refined and perfected into what people want it to be that everybody forgets about the little things and about the diversity and about the normal,
man.
Yeah, the normal life. I mean, you know what? You're not going to wake up and feel good every day. You're just not. Like, it's not how it goes. You can try, you can do whatever you do, and you can put yourself out there and you can have a good mindset towards things. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. And that's all right too. Like, we got to stop as a society making everybody think it's like everything's just sunshine and rainbows and everything's going to come to you just like that. Yeah. And things are always okay. They're not. They're just not. So, like, that's kind of, that's the main thing I think about social media and things like that. People use it for a lot of good and people use it for a lot of bad, and you got to take it as what it is. Take it with a grain of salt and live your life.
For sure. And it's just, oh man, it's like, it's crazy to think, because even someone like me, I could be like, oh man, I wish I was playing pro ball rather than doing what I'm doing. I love what I do. It's hard. But then, you hear groups of people talk, I wish I was in Payton's position. You're like, do you? Let me tell you what it's like. This is a job, guys. I'm grateful to be where I am, but this is my place of work. And if I don't do this work well, I'm gone.
Exactly.
Simple as that.
Exactly. No, I have people tell me that all the time. Like, man, it's, I just wish I could be you. I wish I could live your life. And every single time I tell them, like, no, you don't. You couldn't live my life, just like I couldn't live your life.
Yep.
Like, no matter what you're doing, I couldn't be you and you couldn't be me. And that's fine with me. Like, that's fine with me. And, like you're saying, like, there's a lot of time where we do get caught up in that. It's like, oh man, I wish I could just be this guy. If I was that guy, my life would be easier. It's like a lot of baseball players compare themselves to Mike Trout or want to be Mike Trout. Well, Mike Trout's the best baseball player in the world right now. Plays for the Los Angeles Angels and, signed this big contract, and, he's a great guy and seems to do things the right way. And they're like, man, I wish I could be Mike Trout. I wish I could play baseball like Mike Trout. Well, people don't understand that if you play baseball like Mike Trout, well, now you got to deal with all the publicity that Mike Trout deals with. You got to deal with everything else that comes with that. You got to deal with, and you just wouldn't be cut out for that.
Yeah,
there's certain group of people.
Everything I do,
everything you do.
Be able to handle it. I'm a very private person. I started putting stuff on social media to challenge myself, because I didn't like being on a camera. I didn't like the sound of my voice. There's a whole laundry list of items why not to do it. I was like, if I teach one person something, I'm just going to do it. So I'm, being on a podcast, having my face on a camera, I freaking twitch. I move my hands. I mess with my hands all the time. It's so hard. And I saw it as a challenge and something that could help people, but I'm a very private person. So thinking about being like a celebrity in whatever realm, athletics, I just couldn't do it. I do not like the spotlight, and that's a challenge in itself. I couldn't imagine.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. I don't understand how those superstars and people do it. I mean, obviously you learn, and if you get to that point, you learn how to do it, and you have people helping you and people guiding you, and making sure you're staying out of trouble and doing the right things. But it's a lot. But at the same time, it's a lot for you to be a dad, right? It's a lot for you to be a husband. It's a lot for you to be a homeowner, right? It's those type of things like that. It's different for everyone. It's different for me. Like it's different for you. It's different for every single person on this planet. But I can promise you, they're still going through something that you're not going through.
Oh yeah.
So
no matter how glamorous it might look, there's something.
Yeah. I listened to the song a lot. "Living the Dream" by Morgan Wallen. And I think everybody should take a look at that. It kind of goes in saying like pretty much living the dream is not what it always is made out to be. Right. He's you can kind of tell he wants to be reserved by the way he's singing the song and just wants to go be himself and do his own deal. And, I think that's important to know is it's like, yeah, everybody's dream's different. Everybody has different goals and ambitions, but man, sometimes it isn't what it seems. Sometimes it isn't what you want it to be. And sometimes it makes you want something else, but you're there and you're doing it. So you might as well keep doing it because you're good at it.
Yeah. In the end, Payton's a human being and he, at times suffers just like the rest of us. And that might be a poor word to use, but truly, No,
I mean, I think it's right. I think it's right on. Like it's not, like I said, I'm not playing a poor me card. I'm not doing anything like that.
Right. Yeah. We all know
with a lot of different things.
Grateful to be there. And I just appreciate you being upfront with your story because it's so important for people to realize, maybe they're in a job they hate.
Absolutely.
Keep pushing. You're either going to figure out that you like that job because you just keep getting better and better or just something changes. You just keep pushing, working hard. Like we can't just have a pity party forever. Like, yeah, there's time for that.
No.
Take a second.
Absolutely.
You need it, but then just keep pushing. Things will change.
Yeah.
It will be better.
No, I agree. I totally agree. I've always thought the same thing. It's like, it's not going to stay like that forever. Things aren't going to be bad forever. Just like things aren't going to be good forever. Like shit's going to happen. It's going to go down like whether it is good or bad. So I totally agree with you there. It's like, man, you gotta find a way every single day to put one foot in front of the other. And 100%. Even if it's, if it's the littlest step ever, it's the littlest step, man, at least you're doing it. Yeah. At least you're trying, at least you keep going. Like that's because in the end, like it doesn't matter who teaches you what or who tells you what or anything like that. You got to be the one that does it. Mm-hmm. You just do whatever it is, whatever you're going for, whatever you're doing, you have to be the one that does it.
Yeah.
Like it's not, I can't put it any more clear than that because I've been in that situation where it's like, oh, like I can rely on my dad or I can rely on my mom to help me get through this, or I can rely on my girlfriend or my grandparents, whatever it is. And it's like, you learn after a while that doesn't work. You got to believe in it. You got to do it. So,
well, you can't really call your dad while you're behind the plate. Like it's
no,
you.
Hell, I wish I
You're
could.
like, dude,
yeah.
Got this freaking mask on. You're about to have a projectile thrown at you. Nope. But it's like, it's just you there. And yeah, you can depend on the people you love, your friends, whoever it may be, but there will be situations where you have to make that decision to take those steps, to make the suffering end, to make whatever go away that's there. And that's so big nowadays. Even when we were back in high school, kids giving up, ending their lives, things like that. I think that's some of the most important concrete evidence that something, or concrete advice that somebody like you can give, is just like, we're not talking scenarios where, you're not enjoying life and you're ready to give up, but you said it yourself. And I said it, like, it will end.
Yep. It will. You'll get over it. Like, you'll get through it. Like, that's tough sometimes to help people understand. And, people deal with things mentally that I can't even fathom, like people deal with depression, people deal with anxiety, people deal with all sorts of different things that are going on, or something happened and they just don't know how to figure it out. And that's, it's so sad, because you see things like that happen, and it's like, man, like, you always wish you would have said something, or wish you would have did something different, when, sometimes it is out of your control, but I think there is some of the time where it's not, and we can do a little bit more of being that person that helps somebody else get through that, or help somebody else realize that, like, hey, you are a great person, or telling somebody that they look good, or anything like that. Like, whether, and I think one thing I have learned big time is a lot of the time I would let my mood dictate how I treated others. Not like not in a bad way of like, oh, I'm feeling shitty today, like I'm gonna treat everybody like crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like, if I felt crappy, I didn't necessarily want to have the conversations or do the things that I wanted to do, that I usually did when I was feeling good, or when I was happy, or when things were going right. Right. So I think even, the best thing to do when you're having a bad day is go reach out, go do something for somebody. Like, go
for sure,
go talk to the freaking store clerk.
Yeah.
Talk to the bank teller, talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing that makes me happier than when somebody, like, I'm going through the line checking out in groceries, and somebody just says, "What's up?" Like, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing today?" Like, they could very well keep their head down and say nothing, but they said something. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm great. How are you? Like, just sparking a conversation.
If you're having a bad day, not even trying to like bring somebody else up who you can tell is having a bad day, because you just can't tell. But man, you're having a crappy day. You're in self-checkout in Walmart grabbing something quick, and you're like, "Hey man, I really like your shoes."
Yeah.
The face light up, and you just made that guy's day. So all of a sudden you're like, what was I mad about? How was I feeling? I'm really happy right now.
Just it takes that pressure off.
It's medicine, man.
It really is. Really is.
Love it. With people who are trying to like invest time and money into themselves, well, whether it be time, money, whatever it is, in order to become more successful relationships wise, business, sports, fitness, though we've already discussed a lot, and you can pull so much of what you said into this question, what kind of advice do you have for people who just want to keep building themselves? I would guess that you're like, dude, figure out what you want and just push. And
I mean,
you make the decision when you're done pushing. It probably won't be ever, but figure out.
No, and I like, and that is something I would say for sure. But I really believe, like, if you want something, and you want, like you're saying, you want something in business, real life, sports, whatever it is, like, you really, really, really have to start with believing in yourself. That is first and foremost. You can't do anything if you don't believe in it. You can't. It's just not. In my mind, it's not possible. Like, if you don't have a belief system in what you're trying to do, it won't happen.
Well, and it's not even just in your mind. Like, scientifically, the reticular activating system, it will process what you actually believe. So if you go in saying, "Man, I'm going to suck this game," you're probably going to suck that game.
Yeah.
Something's going to get because your mind, you truly do not believe it. So there's the system in our brains literally will believe what we tell it.
Well, and I mean, I think I've heard before too. I could be wrong in the percentages, but something where it's like, 80% of our thoughts are already negative, or already something to deal with, something like that we're worried about, or something negative, right? So it's like we're already like bred to believe like, oh no, like I should be careful when I do this, or I shouldn't do this. Like that's why you really, really, really have to lock in on the fact that you believe in it.
Yeah.
Like, there's times and days where, I've gone to the field and I'm like, my swing is so messed up right now. I really don't know if I can get a hit, or my approach going to the game is so messed up right now. I don't know if I can play like I usually play. But there was always that belief system in the back of my mind, like, hey, you can make the big leagues. Mm-hmm. You can make the big leagues. You can make the big leagues. You can make the big leagues. It just kept going through my mind. Like it never stopped. It never stopped from the time that I was, 14, 15. It's like, you can make the big leagues. You can make the big leagues. Just kept going. So it's like, yeah, there's negativity involved. And there's things that happen during those days. But I think if that main goal is what you believe in, that main focus is your belief, then it's going to happen. Yeah. It's absolutely going to happen. A lot of people talk about manifesting and getting things out in the open. Like, that's great. Just manifest it yourself. Freaking believe in it. Like honestly, what do you really have to lose when you're believing in a business, or when you're believing in anything? Only thing you really have to lose is money and time. Right? Time's the only thing we can't get back. We can always make money. So if you're worried about the money, then freaking go after it.
Yeah.
Right? If you're worried about the time, well, yeah, if you're worried about the time, learn how to prioritize your time.
Yeah.
And I promise you, things are going to fall into place exactly the way they want to fall into place.
Yes.
And the second thing that I always say is confidence as well. You have to. Belief and confidence. And I think they go hand in hand together. You believe in it. You tell yourself you're going to do it. Now all of a sudden you've just given yourself confidence. When you give yourself confidence, you might be 2 feet tall and you can feel like you're 10. Like it's incredible what it'll do for you. And that's one thing that I'm really bad at, to be completely honest with you. I'm very bad at being confident. Very bad. Like, it's not one of my strong suits. It's not something that I've ever been good at. It's just the fact that, like, I had confidence in my work. That was it. I didn't have confidence really in myself. There's a lot of time where that wavers, but I have confidence in my work, and I have confidence in the time that I do put into things. And so I think that's where you can learn to excel, is believing in it, and then having confidence, and then working and putting those three things all hand in hand, and it's there.
And knowing that it's
100%
in your lap without those things.
Hell no.
Nothing good's coming to you without any work, unless you got very lucky and very successful $1 billion business fell into your lap because you were born. Like, aside from
exactly
nothing, man.
Exactly right.
Just like us.
I mean, the billionaires of the world and multi-millionaires of the world, those people are working 16-hour days like it's nothing, just to make things run and to make things work. So I heard, obviously Elon Musk, a lot of people talk about him, and I'm not like a huge follower of Elon Musk or anything like that, but I've seen some things said about him in some podcasts of him being on and stuff like that, of like, I work 16, 17 hours a day, and then I go home and sleep, and then wake up and do it all over again.
Yeah. And
so there's definitely sacrifices to be made when it comes to being successful. Like a lot of sacrifices. Like, I hate being away from home. My job makes me be away from home wherever I'm at. Like, I will always be away from home if I'm playing baseball. Just like Elon Musk will always be away from his family, the people he loves, when he's working. Mm-hmm. Like, just like you being in the military and doing the things you were doing, you had to be away from home, but it was something you believed in. You believed you were doing good. And I think that's what matters. And, you got back home, and now you're on to your next adventure. Yeah. Like, that's just what we do. That's how we keep going.
Yeah, man. I love that. And then I wrote something down that I really wanted to ask you, and can't figure out where it is. My office is just like papers everywhere.
Oh, it's all good.
Write stuff down. But man, just in this conversation, so much that comes up with you being an athlete. Like kids, everyone loves sports. Most people I know in the world love sports, but it's just I really think about like my wife's dance team that she coaches and the lack of confidence like teenage girls and teenage boys have, and just the lack of drive they can have at times, and focusing on things that really don't matter. This is what I was getting to during your first point. The thought I had is just things that can rock your world end up being so much smaller than they feel like they are. Because things have rocked my world before. I'm like, holy cow, this is the end. But it's not. It ends up being something so small. In marriage, things just, you can feel as though you're just destroyed at times. And it ends up being tiny, things I've experienced in other places. It's just, these things that feel so big at the time are really tiny in your life. Do you have anything that's kind of that you've had to drive past that just felt like, man, this is the end for me? Like, what the hell am I going to do?
Yeah. My grandpa passed away this last January, and my grandpa, that was my guy. That was my go-to guy for everything. Like him, and, he's as much my dad as my dad is my dad. Like I spent so much time with him and learned so much from him, and wanted my life to be molded after him. That when he passed away, I always, knew he was going to pass away. I always knew that was going to happen, but I never knew what I would do without him ever. I had no idea. Right. And so when he passed away, that was the toughest thing for me. It's like, how the hell am I going to get through some of the things that you've helped me get through without you?
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to do that? Like, I don't have you to call. I don't have you to lift me up. I don't have anything. And, that really did. That was one of those moments where I was like, that rocked my world. I didn't know. I'm still like, in a way, a little bit lost, like trying to figure some things out. But, that's a very, very big event that's happened in my life, but also a very big piece of why I do what I do.
Yeah.
Right. So,
sure.
That thing that was overwhelming me, like that feeling of, I don't know what I was going to do, all of a sudden, like just kind of drifted away. Cause it was like, he's been preparing you your whole life.
Yeah.
He's
like, when this happens, you push through it, because it's what I've taught you.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's done his whole life's work has been to just push through, to show people that he could push through. I mean, he started out as an orphan and turned his life into this just incredible storybook life. Right, is what my grandfather did, and it's that's all I needed to know was, we just keep going.
Yeah.
Like we just keep going, you keep going, you keep going. Like that's it. That's it. I look at it too, like, you have bad days when people pass away, you have good days, just like everything. And, my grandma's alone now. She has bad days and she has good days, but she always just keeps going and just keeps pushing through, no matter how hard it is or no matter how good it is. It's just like, no, we're just going to keep going.
I got people who love me. So,
yep, we can't do anything about that. I mean, and it's honestly inspiring. I mean, another thing is my little brother, my 22-year-old brother, he got diagnosed with brain cancer about a year ago. And it's the same thing. It's like, you look at that and you're like, what are we going to do? Like, how can we help him? And how can we do this? How can we do that? And you just have to keep pushing forward. You have to keep doing it. Like, I think I could take it from him best is he's going through chemo treatments and trying to get himself healthy and, trying just to get back to being him and doing the things that he loves to do. And he just keeps going. There's nothing else to it. Like, it's like, it's been days where he calls me and he doesn't want to keep going. But then there's days that he's like, screw this. Like, yeah, we're going. We don't care. Like, we're living
my life to live. I'm doing it.
Yeah. Like, we're gonna do exactly what we've done. And you take those big things and kind of turn them into little things by the way that you deal with them. And I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and it can continue to be like this. Your grandfather passed, and it's huge. He was such a rock in your life. So truly it does rock your world. I guess I kind of posed the question poorly when, because those huge things, like they're giant. Like your mind isn't only saying like, oh, this feels huge right now. Like, it's so painful. It really is. It's very painful. It's a huge thing in your life. And it's just something that conditioning yourself mentally, you've been able to push through. But kind of the direction I'm going with the little things that feel so big, or like, people, I guess, that adversity piece, and like, say in the minors, you're playing AAA ball. It's like, when are you going to give up, man? When are you going to stop?
Yep.
Which probably maybe the first time you hear it, you're like, what am I going to do? Like, it feels so big, but really it's just a small little thing that you're just like, no, I'm going to head right around that. Just scrape that speed off and just keep driving down this road.
No, you're right.
But I appreciate you sharing the big things. Like, those are huge. I'm glad that you shared those.
Sorry I misunderstood that. But no, I totally get what you're saying now. It's, it's like you hear all these like stupid phrases and all these stupid things that people say of like, you just go through it or you just get over it. Right. And for some things that's the truth. For something it's not. But, and I think a lot of people, especially nowadays with, like mental health awareness and things that we've developed and learned about mental health and people getting through things and how people have different coping mechanisms and stuff like that I think sometimes we've, and especially lately, we've kind of turned that mindset of like, oh, I'm just going to get through it, or I'm just going to go around it as something that's bad. And it's not. Like, if that's the way you want to do it, do it. Like, you're exactly right. Like, man, if I had $1 for every time that I heard somebody tell me that like I wouldn't make the big leagues, or tell me that, I wasn't going to get drafted or something like that, I'd be a lot more wealthy than this sport has ever made, but it's like, all right, well, cool. That's your opinion. That's what you think. It's not my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, even if it is in that day, even if it's like, oh man, like, I don't know how I'm going to do this today. It's still like, that's what I was talking about earlier. That belief system of like, like, I believe I'm going to get the big leagues. I believe I'm going to make it there. I believe I'm going to get through all this crap. It's going to turn into something good. It really is. And, I think even being okay with something like that if it doesn't happen, just taking that same mindset and putting it into whatever else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
you will,
like, okay,
you love.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not just one single thing that you love out there. There's not. Like,
world of opportunity.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, the thing that I think I love most and is I want to be a dad.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing I want most. That's the
good thing to want to be. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's all I've ever wanted to be, is a dad. Like, I want to have kids. I mean, as many as my wife lets me at the time, or when I get married or whatever. Like, I want to be a dad. So, that's something that I look forward to. And I think we were having this conversation before. It's like, well, if some of these things don't happen, I'm going to be a dad. I'm going to turn out to be a great dad. Like, I'm going to turn out to be a great husband, or a great father, or a great whatever it is. Like, I'm just going to turn out to be that, because I know I can be that too.
Yeah. Well, and it's crazy that like everything we talk about, it all comes back to here. Just,
Yep.
you could turn a 2-hour conversation, a 5-hour lesson into like, it's all mindset, because it really is. Like, yeah, some things
100%.
just literally aren't possible. Like, there's things that
No.
human beings just can't do. So you can't just
Yep.
be like, I believe that I can do this, and all of a sudden, you're flying. But maybe you can become an engineer and figure out a way to fly.
Yeah, exactly.
There's ways to go about it, but it all just comes back to the mind, and it all this success, because your success is obviously measured by you, probably, based on how you play, but your
Yep.
success in the coming years, when getting married happens, like I measure my success on how I am as a husband. I probably fail at that a lot of the time. Sometimes I probably have a really bad attitude because I'm so busy. I'm just miserable to be around sometimes. So like my success that day, that way, probably not great. And then after the marriage piece, you add another box to check, or continue checking for 80 years. And it's being a good dad, and then being a good grandfather. And there's just, I put a little video out once on Instagram that was just like, man, there is so much more depth to what successful actually is. If you just want to be rich, there's never going to be enough money. There will never be enough money in the world to make you feel successful just based off of money. And maybe there are some people who are like, I'm good, I'm successful. But really, as humans, we really need to dig deep about what successful is, because there's so much more. What kind of person are you? What kind of impact are you making? Are you good to the people you love? Are you honest? And then, the other pieces that are important, but in the end, when you're on your deathbed, like, if someone just ends up being really rich, or only ends up being a really good athlete, I can bet that they will probably, if they have the chance to think about it, they will have some regrets.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think about the same thing all the time. It's not about what you do. It's not about, how far you make it or what title you end up having. It's what matters is, honestly, when it comes down to the end of the day, what matters is how you treat people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what matters. That is 100% what matters. And I think if you go into the intent of treating other people good and also treating yourself good, I think that's what measures success.
Oh yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that treat others good that don't treat themselves good. Yep. Right. That aren't very nice to themselves, or don't really uplift themselves a lot. And, yep. I can attest to being one of those guys. Like,
same here.
I'm about as hard on myself as anyone could be. And I always feel like I'm doing the wrong thing sometimes, mm-hmm. and all that. But, yeah, I mean, there's just more, you're exactly right. There's more to being rich. There's more to being famous. There's more to being, there's more to being everything. It's just, you gotta dig deep and find it and figure out what's gonna make you happy, and ultimately what's gonna make the people around you happy, and
for sure,
and something that they can be proud of as well.
Yeah, man. Oh man. Well, I don't want to keep you forever. Like, I could honestly talk to you all freaking night. So next.
Oh, me too. I love these conversations.
Next time you're not traveling, we gotta make something happen. But I think the last thing that I just want to ask you, and and I apologize, I keep bringing up teenagers just because I just care about these kids so much. And
yeah,
I have this 2-year-old, and it's hard enough to be a kid. And,
yep.
Being a kid should just be careless. Like, I just remember I was dirty, climbing trees, falling on my face. Like,
yep.
Whatever it was. I'm pretty sure I was out the door at 6 or 7 a.m. and I had the moms down the street being like, you may not show up at my door to play with my kid till 9 a.m. because I'm tired of knocking on my door to play. But
exactly,
being a kid should just be so careless. And I think that's going away. And it's just because of our culture. But it's just so hard for these high school kids and what I'm seeing. And I guess just man, I don't even know how to pose the question because I don't want to make it sound like being a teenager is like the worst thing in the world. But we've already covered it. But one big concrete tip of like, man, I don't even know how to put it. Just in general, like, what can these kids do to like help themselves and their network grow? Does it just go back to the mindset piece like you explained? Is there anything else you want to share on that piece? It's a loaded.
Honestly, I think it just goes to living. Just live. Yeah. Be who you want to be. Do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. If it's a good thing to do.
Yes.
Obviously, yeah. We don't want to.
Within the confines of morals and law.
Yeah, exactly. But do what you want to do. And like, for me, just don't let some stupid peer or adult or anyone in your life that's going to be negative, don't even pay them any attention.
Yeah.
They're not worth it. Like, they're absolutely not worth it. We live in a country where you can literally do whatever you want to do. You can be whatever you want to be. So I think the best thing to give, or the best piece of advice to give to high school kids is just live. Like, if you live and you go out and you just have fun every day in what you're doing, and whether it's schoolwork, whether, we've talked about numerous amounts of different things. Like, we've talked about it all, but it's like, just go out and live.
Yeah. And there's
go out and be you. No, don't try to conform. Yeah. Don't try to conform to what somebody else wants you to be. Don't worry about if somebody thinks that your shoes aren't cool, or if they think that, your hair doesn't look good that day or whatever. You know what? Freaking wake up. If you don't want to shower that morning, don't shower. If you don't want to do your hair that morning, don't do your hair. Go be whoever you want to be. Mm-hmm. If you want to be the opposite, you want to go wear a tuxedo to school because that's what you feel good in, go do it. But do the things that are going to make you live, and do the things that are going to make you confident in yourself and in your own being. Like, do those things. And I promise, that's when your success is going to start. That's when it's all going to start, is when you realize that you do not have to be what everybody else wants you to be.
Oh, yeah.
You don't.
Well, thanks for what you said. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and say, I woke up again. I'm going to be me. Here we go.
Yep. Who cares? Who cares about it, right?
I'm going to throw this on the ground for your mic drop there. Yeah. Jeez. That was beautiful. Yeah, there's just no fancy way to say it. You're not pulling out, the thesaurus or whatever and being like, all right, what's a fancy word like in my essays that I can put for this? Just live.
No.
Live. Whatever you think living is, do it. Have a good time. Yep. Be grateful that you're breathing when you wake up in the morning. You get another day on this magnificent earth.
Exactly.
Crazy. I had a kid. Exactly. I had a kid last year that we were at one of our games, and he gets hurt a lot. He's got really bad anxiety, full-blown anxiety attack. This kid couldn't breathe. He was red in the face. He was getting ashy. I'm just walking up and down the sidelines with him, and as he's freaking out. And I'm like, look, man, right now we're going to call this tiny little field on this earth, tiny piece of earth that you are fortunate enough to go to war on. Like, that's your war zone. So it can get messy out there. It's okay. But look to the east. What do we see? We were in Draper. So you look east in Draper, and it's just these beautiful mountains. You go up to these mountains, it's silent. It's my favorite thing about I get chills thinking about being in the mountains, because it's just
me too. I love it.
It's the greatest place ever, where you just learn so much about yourself. No music on your headphones, nothing. And I was like, this game in this tiny rectangle is going to end. Look at the earth around you. If you start to freak out, just look at what's around. You're here.
Yep.
It's calm. It's gentle. Sometimes it gets messy. But in the end, it's just, we're lucky to be here. And yeah, just live. Wake up, be grateful. You can't really go wrong.
I couldn't agree more. You know, everything that we do in life is such a small piece of what it all is.
Yeah.
That it's like, I do that. It's funny you say that because I do the same thing. I love the mountains. I love being in the mountains. Anytime that I'm feeling like down or feeling overwhelmed or anything like that, the only thing I want to do is be in the mountains. I just want to go and just let it all go. Feel like it's just like you walk up there and it's like nothing can see you but nature, right? You're just surrounded by what's been created, and it's a beautiful thing. So I really do like that. I think that's really good advice is, find something. Some people might be the ocean, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people love the ocean. I had a little time to go down to the ocean today just to kind of hang out and sit there and relax. And, it was nice just being able to be there and let go for a second. So,
yeah.
I think that's a really good thing. I think it's cool for people to have an outlet in nature as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, thanks for giving me worthwhile advice. Like it's crazy. We're so similar in age, but it's amazing what we can learn from each other. And
Absolutely.
the things I can take from you in your athletics and put it into business or my work overseas, whatever it is. There's just so much we can learn from each other. So I appreciate your time there, and then just your willingness to, as I said when I reached out, I really think that this is going to be really valuable for some parents to hear. Like, oh man, my kid wants to do this, and it's about a 0.001% chance that he or she can do it. But you know what? I'm going to help them. I'm going to help them try to do it. And then if not, they're going to be okay.
Let them.
And then just for I hope that I can get this into the ears, especially what you said there at the end. Just get it into the ears of as many kids as possible, because just such a simple thing said by a person that people look up to like you can be super valuable. So thank you for the time in this, man. I know you're super busy and you need to be resting. So anyone who hears,
absolutely,
I appreciate it, man.
No, it's all good. I did any time for you, man. I appreciate you reaching out and letting me have the opportunity.
Oh yeah, of
course. Good stuff.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much. And I hope everyone enjoyed today's episode. I'm sure they did. And I hope to talk to you soon, man. We'll keep following your games and cheering you on. It's
absolutely
been a pleasure to watch and follow. And
I appreciate that a lot, for real.
Good luck with everything, man. Stay healthy and
thank you. All right. Tell the family I said hi. Thanks again. You're awesome, man.
No problem, man.